Alrighty, good morning everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Zach Seidel, Deputy Mayor for Communications for Mayor Karen Bass. First, we're going to hear from Mayor Bass regarding the task force being announced today. Following that, we'll hear from Assistant Chief of Los Angeles Police Department, Dominic Choi. Following that, we'll hear from Assistant Chief of Los Angeles Police Department, Al Labrada, to deliver remarks in Spanish. After that, Chief Labrada will introduce Deputy Chief of the LAPD, Chris Pitcher, to talk about the task force. Following that, the mayor will come back to the podium. She'll introduce Sheriff Luna. After Sheriff Luna, Mayor Bass will come back to the podium, introduce Glendale Police Department Chief Manuel Sid. After that, we'll take questions from the side. Just a reminder to folks, two things. One, there's a press release circulating around. Wanted to make sure folks had that for context of the announcement. And then the second thing, when I'm calling on questions, if folks wouldn't mind saying their name as well as their outlet, and I'll do another reminder when we do that. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mayor Bass.
Good morning, everyone. What we've seen over just the past week in the city of Los Angeles and in cities and areas surrounding us is unacceptable, and today we are here to announce regional action. Today we're here to announce multi-agency organized retail crimes task force coordinated between the LAPD, represented today by Assistant Chiefs Choi and Labrada, as well as Deputy Chief Pitcher, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, represented today by Sheriff Luna, and Glendale Police Department, represented by Chief Sid. The task force also includes the Burbank Police Department, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, as well as our state partners at the CHP and our federal partners at the U.S. Marshal's Office and the FBI. This approach, this regional approach, is consistent with how we have been operating in every facet of this administration. Coordinated, unified, and urgent to address the serious issues that we face. Our number one job is to keep Angelenos safe and to feel safe. When incidents of brazen theft and robbery occur, it shatters that feeling of safety. These are not victimless crimes, especially in the case where Angelenos are attacked through force or fear. No Angeleno should feel like it is not safe to go shopping in Los Angeles. No entrepreneur should feel like it's not safe to open a business in Los Angeles. So to Angelenos, our message is clear. Those who commit these crimes will be caught, they will be held accountable, and we will work to address this issue. And I just want to say the leaders behind me, this is not the first time they've come together with the task force to address issues like this. They did it when it seemed like there were follow-home robberies every day in 2021. There was concentrated, aggressive, and a collaborative approach. A similar task force was formed, and after arrests were made, these robberies essentially stopped. That's exactly what will happen this time. Now, I have a word for Angelenos who find themselves in a store during one of these operations. Do not take the law into your own hands. Be safe. Call 911 and stay clear. Many times people's first reaction, as I learned from our chief that you'll hear from Glendale, instead of taking your phone out to take pictures, take your phone out and call 911. And if you have any information, we are also announcing a hotline for anyone with information to share it. Angelenos can call 811-374-9420. During non-business hours or on the weekends, calls should be directed to 877-527-3247. I again want to thank the leaders behind me for standing together to address this issue. And again, I want to be clear. This is just one way we are addressing public safety. We've allocated more money for our police department in the budget. We're also working to help LAPD address hiring and recruitment with the new contract. And all of these efforts are because the partnerships with leaders from the City Council and I look forward to continuing to work together, because again, the number one job for myself and other elected officials is to keep Los Angeles and Angelenos safe. With that, I'd like to introduce Assistant Chief, LAPD, Dominic Choi.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to just begin by thanking Mayor Bass for her support of public safety within the city and also for her support of our law enforcement partners, few of which are here today. As you all know, in recent weeks, the city and regionally has seen widely publicized acts of flash mobs, flash robs, and these are groups of criminals targeting large and small retail locations alike with the intent to overwhelm security measures that are in place, including their security guards. And they take large amounts of merchandise, and sometimes this merchandise is in excess of hundreds of thousands of dollars. These criminals use weapons or simulated weapons. They use intimidation techniques to take this merchandise. In each of these acts, they take just a little bit away from our peace of mind, for our sense of safety in the community, and our sense of security when we want to go out and do shopping at our retail communities. The Los Angeles Police Department will not tolerate these acts. We will not stand by idly while these acts continue, and neither will our law enforcement partners or the city. I'd like to thank our law enforcement partners for their continued commitment to dealing and working together in a task force to reduce or actually eliminate these crimes. As we know, these criminals, they don't distinguish between city borders and county borders, and so we need this task force to effectively address this issue. And to stop it and hold people accountable for these crimes, we've established a multi-agency organized retail theft task force for the LA region. This task force will be led by the Los Angeles Police Department Commercial Crimes Division. It will include investigators from the LA County Sheriff's, Glendale Police Department, Burbank Police Department, Beverly Hills Police Department, Santa Monica Police Department, and the California Highway Patrol. And we also have our federal partners involved in this. Additionally, prosecutors are going to be embedded into this task force, which includes the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, as well as the California Attorney General's Office. This task force will respond in an organized manner, day and night, 7 days a week, with the full scope of investigative resources to compile evidence for successful filings and prosecutions. And not just of those people stealing this merchandise, but of those that are buying and selling this merchandise, because I think we all know if a deal is too good to be true, then it is. So the recommendation is stay with your authorized retailers for this high-end merchandise. And on that point, I'd like to turn it over now to Assistant Chief Al Labrada for some additional comments.
Muy buenos días. Voy a dar un mensaje en español y después de concluir esta prensa puedo dar otros comentarios personales y tener respuestas. Muy buenos días. Para comenzar, me gustaría agradecer a la alcaldesa de Mayor Bass que realmente ha asistido en poniendo ese grupo de oficiales y trayendo a todos los líderes que tienes aquí enfrente de ustedes hoy para hablar acerca de ese problema que tenemos en la ciudad. Así como nuestros compañeros que hoy nos acompañan, en las últimas semanas se han publicado el nivel y ampliamente de la región de Los Ángeles ha estado por los incidentes que hemos tenido en la comunidad de intención de robar grandes cantidades de mercancía en nuestra ciudad y en otras partes de la ciudad y el condado. Estos delincuentes usan armas para intimidar y robar mercancía y a veces valorado en cientos de miles de dólares que roban de estos locales. Con cada uno de estos actos también roban la tranquilidad, protección y seguridad de poder comprar estas tiendas de nuestros líderes y nuestros comunitarios residentes. El Departamento de Policía de Los Ángeles y nuestros compañeros están aquí porque no podremos y estamos parados con las manos, brazos cruzados, esperando que pase el otro incidente. Agradecemos a nuestros compañeros aquí presentes por su apoyo y compromiso a la seguridad pública. Ese grupo de oficiales ha sido creado para impactar estos delitos de crimen organizados en la ciudad de Los Ángeles y en el condado de Los Ángeles también. El objetivo hoy es brindar tranquilidad a nuestros residentes y a comunidad. Ese grupo se va a dirigir por el Departamento de la Policía, la División de Delitos Comerciales, y va a incluir investigadores del Departamento del Condado, del Alguacil, el Condado de Los Ángeles, el Departamento de Policía de Glendale, Policía de Burbank, policía de Beverly Hills y otros varios departamentos de policía que van a asistir en las investigaciones. Adicionalmente, los fiscales de la Oficina del Fiscal, Distrito del Condado de Los Ángeles, la Oficina del Fiscal de la Ciudad de Los Ángeles y la Oficina del Fiscal General de California serán parte de este grupo, el cual responderán a esos delitos de crímenes a cualquier hora que ocurran, organizándose día y noche con un completo recurso de investigación para recopilar estas pruebas para asegurar que se investiguen todos esos casos y presentar esos casos al fiscal, no solo a aquellos que roban los productos, sino también de quienes venden y compran esos productos ilegalmente. El mensaje para la comunidad hoy es importante. Si la compra de un artículo parece ser demasiado bueno, parece ser, no va a ser verdad. Probablemente, si lo es, siempre es más seguro comprar de un local o una tienda autorizada. Gracias, y ahora voy a pasar la palabra al subjefe Chris Pitcher, que va a hablar acerca de los delitos que tuvimos en la ciudad y lo que se va a hacer por parte de la ciudad. Lo que sí quiero dar antes de concluir es el número del hotline que se va a ofrecer, 877 LAPD 24/7, o el Crime Stoppers, 800-222-8477. Puede ser anónimas los reportes en este caso. Now I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief Chris Pitcher, who will talk about our efforts in the city with the task force, and then more importantly, the 4 incidents that we've had recently in the city of LA. I'll turn it over to Chris Pitcher.
So good morning. I am Deputy Chief Chris Pitcher. I am the Chief of Detectives for the Los Angeles Police Department. And in that, I oversee investigations and investigative efforts throughout the city. To the rear of you is my partner, Commander Jay Mastick. He is the individual that we have tabbed to oversee the day-to-day operations of this very significant task force that we are bringing to you today. Under the direction of Mayor Karen Bass and Chief Michael Moore, the Los Angeles Police Department has developed and will be implementing the Retail Organized Crime Task Force that draws from internal resources from the LAPD and external resources from a variety of departments that you have heard already mentioned, as well as prosecutors and the retail community that basically is in the city of Los Angeles. But so what got us here? What got us here were a series of very serious and critical incidents that occurred and impacted the city's retailers first and foremost, and I'm going to start by discussing these incidents. The last incident that occurred on August 15th occurred at the Kasubi store on La Brea Avenue. And it was a flash mob / flash rob incident that occurred on August 15th at about 18:55 hours, where Wilshire patrol officers responded to a radio call of a robbery in progress at the Kasubi store on 132 South La Brea Avenue. It's a high-end clothing store that appeals to youth and young adults. Minutes prior to closing, 11 suspects entered that store wearing hooded sweatshirts and some wearing masks. They rushed the store, the individuals inside, and started removing clothing and other items from the displays. 2 unarmed security guards attempted to intervene, and ultimately one of the male suspects simulated a handgun in his pocket and threatened that security guard to back off. The property taken was miscellaneous items and clothing valued over $100,000. They were in and out in a matter of minutes. On August 12th, 2023, at about 1600 hours, a flash rob style incident occurred in the Valley at the Nordstrom in the Westfield Topanga Shopping Center on 21725 Victory Boulevard in Canoga Park. In this incident, more than 30 individuals entered the store together and immediately, within minutes, grabbed over $300,000 worth of merchandise, ransacking shelves, display type tables, and racks in the process. The suspects were wearing ski masks and hoodies. They fled the location once again with over $300,000. But in doing so, they had confronted a security guard and sprayed the individual with what was later determined to be bear spray, incapacitating him, and ultimately allowing the other 30 individuals to complete that robbery. They fled the location in various vehicles and took off. On July 3rd of 2023, at approximately 1600 hours, 4 suspects entered the Westfield Century City Mall's Bloomingdale's retail store located at 10250 Santa Monica Boulevard in West Los Angeles, part of the city. Suspects wearing hooded sweatshirts and masks entered that location, ran into the store, removed numerous handbags and other items from the store display. They ran out of that store without paying and fled the location in a silver 4-door Toyota Camry unknown plate vehicle. All items taken were Gucci handbags totaling around $32,000. And on July 31st of 2023, at approximately 1530 hours, approximately 10 to 15 suspects entered the Westfield Century City Mall, the Gucci store, located at 10250 Santa Monica Boulevard, and all of the suspects, approximately 18 to 25 years of age, wearing hooded sweatshirts and masks, entered the store, removed the merchandise from the racks and store displays, and within minutes left that store with all of the merchandise with a total loss of about $100,000. So, in an effort to address this critical trend that is impacting the city of Los Angeles, the retail community, this department has organized a task force, and here is the nuts and bolts of that task force. We have 22 assigned full-time investigators that will work 24/7, 7 days a week. They will be responding to incidents day and night to conduct full investigations, to start those incidents, and to follow up on every available lead that we have from ground zero all the way through the end of that incident. We have 3 separate individual surveillance and apprehension teams that will be working with this task force to conduct surveillance operations and ultimately apprehension operations of all of the suspects that we identify and ultimately receive probable cause to make an arrest on. They will be out there tailing and doing all of that work. We have 1 district attorney that will be embedded with this task force. They will be reviewing the cases, the search warrants, the filings, and ultimately the operations. They will be working with us to ensure appropriateness, legality, and ultimately that we're taking advantage of every legal means possible to make the arrest and then keep them into custody. And then last, we have 2 investigators from the district attorney's office that will be committed to this task force to help us in those investigations. Participating in this externally will be sworn investigators from Glendale, Burbank, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica police departments, as well as the California Highway Patrol and the Attorney General's office to participate with us, in addition to city attorneys from the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, to round this effort out, to take advantage of a network of information and of investigative steps that we have taken, and ultimately to bring this together, not to make this an LAPD-centric investigative effort, but also to all of the other entities that service the Los Angeles County region. And we will be working effectively to go out to immediately identify, to arrest these individuals, to serve immediate search warrants, and to apprehend them and to bring them in custody and put them before the prosecutors to ultimately obtain justice for this. The task force is going to be centralized. We are going to house this task force out of the valley, since the majority of these incidents have occurred in the San Fernando Valley in the west portion of the city of Los Angeles. They will be at a location in the valley and ultimately responding from there literally all days through the business day, and then nights they will be on-call status. We are going to be using all applicable technology during this task force. We will be using the cell tower dumps, computer information. We have cyber investigators that will be working with us. We will be performing link analysis, investigations tying these individuals together. We will be using various databases throughout the county, the state, and ultimately nationally to assist us in our investigations. We will be using informants to ultimately work both the front end and the back end of these investigations, and we will be working and using the collective strengths and information of all participating agencies, both not only law enforcement, but also the retail. We will be using LAORCA, the Los Angeles Area Organized Retail Crimes Association, their investigators, the tips that they receive. As you can see to the left of me and to the right of me, we have established tip lines that are already up and operating, that you can reach out anonymously, you can call in and get a live person on the other end and ultimately submit videos, tips, and anything that you would like via the website that's laid out there. So the other question is, zero bail going to impact this task force operation? Well, from what we're seeing, we're looking at robberies. We're looking at chargeable offenses as robberies. And in today's bail schedule, those individuals, once charged with robberies, they will be held in jail. If it does drop to a grand theft, there are chances they may be released on bail, but we will be working with the prosecutors very carefully to appropriately charge these individuals in each one of these cases to make sure that they are held to the greatest extent possible that we're allowed to do so by law. So at that point in time, you have the task force, the nuts and bolts, and ultimately where we are going to go with this task force right now, and it is effective as of last night. So I'm going to turn it back over to the mayor.
Yes, and as you know, one of the crimes took place in the unincorporated area of East Los Angeles. Here to address that is Los Angeles County Sheriff Luna.
Thank you all, and good morning for being here. I too want to thank Mayor Bass and Chief Moore, who I've been communicating with all week regarding the crimes that have been described to you that have occurred not only over the last week, but it's something that a lot of our agencies have been working on for the last several weeks. And we, as the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, will be part of this task force that you're hearing so much about this morning. We're very happy to participate in it. For us, just like our counterparts or our brothers and sisters standing around us, we didn't just start this today. We've been dealing, unfortunately, with these issues almost for the last year plus. So at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, we have had an existing group of investigators who have been doing a really good job and working with other departments around us. But before I get to my comments, I do want to stress something to all of your viewers. We're not only focused on the individuals who are walking into these stores and committing the crimes that we see on video, but if you are supporting them logistically, either by being a driver, harboring them, buying merchandise, selling merchandise, you're in this chain. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we hold you accountable because you are impacting our community. And that's what we're all doing here today, to make sure that everybody knows we have a united front and we are going to respond, we're going to investigate, we're going to turn over the best cases that we can to the district attorney's office or whoever else we have to make sure, again, that people get held accountable. Please know that as we're talking about this, and it's been very well articulated, if you can imagine for a second what we're doing to our business community here in Los Angeles County. Literally, people are talking about packing up and leaving. We don't want you to leave. This is one of the greatest places on this earth. People come here to vacation. We want you to feel secure in selling your merchandise, when you're shopping, to go out there and feel safe. And that's, again, what we're all doing here today collectively. But please, as a reminder, we don't want people to lose their jobs because shops are closing up because of these type of crimes. That's how serious we are all taking this. Specifically to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, our Major Crimes Bureau, Burglary Robbery Task Force are very focused in identifying and targeting organized retail theft crews that you've heard so much about today. There are no jurisdictional boundaries when it comes to these crimes, and that's why it's absolutely necessary that all of us, no matter what uniform we're wearing, we are communicating and coordinating so we can apprehend the individuals that are doing this. From the fall of 2021 through August 16th, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is aware of at least 170 organized retail thefts in our jurisdictions, which do include smash and grabs, flash mobs, and grab and goes. That's what we're focused on here today. As of January 1st, 2023, one of our local shoe stores in the East Los Angeles area, apparel store, was the victim several dozen times of grand theft in the last 6 months, totaling approximately $83,000. In that store, we currently have at least 22 active cases. We have 20 pending cases. We have made 16 arrests, and there are 3 additional cases where the suspects have been identified, and these cases are being submitted to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for their filing consideration. In June of this year, the East Los Angeles Sheriff's Station Crime Enforcement Team, along with our Major Crimes Bureau, conducted a 2-day operation and made 12 arrests, 9 felonies and 3 misdemeanor arrests. $2,700 worth of goods were recovered and returned to the local businesses, along with 2 stolen vehicles that were recovered and 1 assault weapon that was seized. That's important to realize that a lot of the individuals committing these crimes are also involved in probably other crimes. Yesterday afternoon, this particular store had 3 thefts, roughly in an hour apart from each other. At 12:30 p.m., 2 female black suspects entered the store and stole approximately $1,200 worth of clothing. That is an active investigation. At about an hour or so later, 6 male suspects entered the store and stole roughly nearly $4,000 worth of clothing and shoes. This is also an active investigation. At approximately 2:37 p.m., the 2 male suspects and 2 female suspects entered the store and stole approximately $3,500 worth of clothing and shoes. And our Aero Bureau quickly responded to the area where they were able to locate the suspect vehicle with the assistance of our East Los Angeles Sheriff Station deputies. They were able to locate the suspect vehicle and coordinate a traffic stop at the 105 freeway and Paramount exit. The 6 individuals in the vehicle were positively identified and detained as suspects in the theft. They were arrested and taken into custody for grand theft and conspiracy. So we will do everything we can to work with the district attorney's office to make sure that these individuals get held accountable. And like the deputy chief from Los Angeles said, you've heard me talk about the zero bail issue. This is something that we as a community are going to have to deal with as we look at these type of crimes to make sure that we're holding the right people accountable, that we're incarcerating the right people, and furthermore. So again, I just want to thank everybody who's involved in everything that we're doing here. We are a big part of this task force throughout LA County. If it goes beyond LA County, we'll reach out to our partners in other counties with state officials and federal officials, and we need to keep the pressure on. We intend to do that collectively, and I really thank all of you for being here to cover this story. I think it's very important. And with that, I'm going to introduce, I believe, Chief Sid from the Glendale Police Department.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be here. As has been stated numerous times, but I think it bears repeating, let me begin by assuring all the members of the Glendale community, as well as the broader LA region, that these brazen smash and grab type robberies, thefts, burglaries, what have you, will not be tolerated across our region or in any of our communities. The Glendale Police Department, in collaboration with our law enforcement partners, many of which are here present today, will work tirelessly to bring all our resources to bear to identify, arrest, and bring to justice any individuals participating or benefiting from these criminal acts. I'd like to thank Chief Moore and the LAPD for their leadership in the formation of this organized retail theft task force, to Sheriff Luna and the Sheriff's Department for their support and partnership, the presence of the many community leaders that I think you see here today, both law enforcement and elected officials, I think speaks clearly as an indication that we stand united in this mission. I'd like to thank Mayor Bass for her support in prioritizing public safety, not only in the city of Los Angeles, but across our region. Specifically regarding the two incidents involving the city of Glendale. On August 2nd, during the early morning hours, we experienced a group of approximately a dozen individuals wearing hoods, masks, gloves, attempt to break in and burglarize the Gucci store at the Americana at Brand. Fortunately, due to an excellent response on that night by our police officers, this attempt was unsuccessful, and the suspects could not gain access to the location and ultimately fled the location. Unfortunately, during the late afternoon of August 8th, a group of over 30 suspects, again dressed in hoods, masks, and gloves, flooded the Yves Saint Laurent store, again at the Americana at Brand. As had been widely covered at this point by the media, the flash mob style group overwhelmed the store and ultimately fled with over $400,000 in merchandise. The suspects loaded into about a dozen vehicles, many of which did not have license plates affixed to the vehicle, and raced away. That entire event lasted about 3 minutes. Following this incident, Glendale police detectives and investigators immediately mobilized and got to work. Their hard work over the last week, coupled with their talents, have initiated the identification process of several individuals connected with these thefts, with this burglary at the YSL store at the Americana. More specifically, Glendale police detectives have secured signed arrest and search warrants for 2 individuals believed to be part of the YSL smash and grab that occurred at the Americana. Just this morning, Glendale police detectives undertook an operation that saw us take into custody and execute a couple of those search warrants and one of its arrest warrants, ultimately taken into custody an individual by the name of Ivan Isaac Ramirez, a 23-year-old resident of the city of Los Angeles. He is currently being processed at the Glendale Police Department and is in our custody. As a part of that arrest, Glendale PD, along with our LAPD partners, executed respective search warrants. During those search warrants, I can report back that valuable evidentiary items were found, including firearms that were recovered at one of the locations. A second suspect, Brianna Jimenez, 21 years old, also of the city of LA, is currently being sought by detectives and has an active arrest warrant, again, for her arrest. We will release booking photos and additional information on both these suspects later today. Again, this operation just occurred early this morning, just in the last couple of hours. This investigation is ongoing. The Glendale Police Department, our detectives, our investigators, in conjunction with the task force that has been detailed here today, will continue to pursue this investigation, looking for all of the individuals involved, not only at our smash and grab at the YSL store at the Americana, but many of the incidents that have been detailed here today. Rest assured, our work is not done here, not for the Glendale Police Department, nor for this task force. This is truly just the beginning. There will be more arrests to come. Lastly, as law enforcement leaders, we are taking comprehensive measures. I know I speak for all of my partners up here in increasing our patrols and our presence around our retail centers and all our respective communities, collaborating with our business owners to help them, educate them in regards to fortifying and really kind of hardening their target, preventing or using preventative measures to hopefully deter these sorts of crimes from even occurring. Additionally, we call upon our community for their assistance. Please refrain from buying, as has been touched on earlier, refrain from buying from unlicensed retail vendors or unverified social media sources. If you are present during one of these flash mob style thefts and or robberies, as the mayor touched on earlier, being an observant witness is incredibly paramount in helping us do our job and do it effectively. We appreciate those who have provided tips or videos to help solve these cases. But with that in mind, please prioritize calling 911 immediately, not just merely recording the incident. Given that many of these suspects are armed, please do not engage them. It is incredibly dangerous. Call the police, let us respond, and let us be effective in responding and deal with these individuals. It's our job. Utilize your cell phones again and contact us as quickly as possible. Again, thank you all for being here. There will be updates to follow in regards to the rest that I touched on, but I think now I will turn it over to Mayor Bass.
All right, folks, we're going to take questions. First one's to Craig.
But before we take questions, let me acknowledge the presence of our newly elected president of the Police Commission, Dr. Earl Suthers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor, over here.
Oh, hi.
I'm short behind these cameras.
I can see you.
I wanted a couple of questions, if I may. First, last time I checked, LAPD's sworn ranks are at or just below 9,000 now. And I also heard Sheriff Luna recently talk about maybe 30% understaffing within the department. So my first question is, do we have enough deputies and LAPD cops to deal with crime in Los Angeles as it's currently being observed?
Well, as you know, I am very concerned, and when we released the budget, what I said at the time was I was worried that the number of officers was going to dip below 9,000. In fact, that has happened. What I am hoping is that the money that was put in the budget, as well as the contract that the City Council will be voting on next week, it was ratified by LAPD officers last week, will help. We are providing a $15,000 incentive bonus for any individual that might be interested in joining the LAPD, in addition to retention pay, so that officers do not retire. And there is an active, do not retire too early, and there is an active recruitment campaign going on right now. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may ask a follow-up on this, I note that I don't see the LA County District Attorney here. A lot of people have criticized him for almost incentivizing this for the lack of very serious charges for crimes.
Let me just say that the purpose of this press conference was really to announce the formation of the task force. The task force is very large. And so we wanted to announce the task force. We wanted to invite residents to participate if they have any information. And we also wanted to provide an update on the crimes that have been taken place. So the task force is very, very large. We didn't have everybody here from the task force. Thank
Alex with MEC.
Yeah, Mayor Bass, this one's for you as well. I've heard you speak of the officers that you plan to hire. That is a plan down the road. This is obviously happening right now, and those officers in the future will help keep families safe in Los Angeles tonight. So we live in a place right now where there's talk around no bail. We have juveniles facing light consequence regardless of crime. We have no accountability for people when it comes to items stolen under $1,000. And as we noted, you have the smallest amount of officers that you've had in a generation.
Well, let me just, let me, oh, go ahead.
We've seen task forces before. Is accountability even realistic?
Well, I think it is absolutely realistic, but let me just point out, and since I wasn't here in 2021, you might speak to that, we had a task force previously. In 2021, you will recall, we were going through smash and grabs, and if I'm not mistaken, that was probably the first time we saw that type of crime. We were going through follow home robberies. The task force that was put into place then was able to end those crimes. And I would just invite the head of the task force to speak to that if you were involved the last time. So this is not a task force just to sit around and discuss something. This is a task force to apprehend the suspects and to do anything and everything we can to prevent these crimes from taking place. Let me also say that when these real high-end crimes are taking place, of purses that might cost $10,000 or $25,000, you know, I don't believe they're being sold in neighborhoods. They're being sold online. And I think all of the actors that participate in this type of criminal activity need to be held accountable.
A quick follow-up to that, Mayor Bass. You mentioned the DA not being here, and I know you wanted to talk about the task force, but you can't talk about accountability without the DA's role in this. I mean, there are people who say he's been in front of one too many cameras.
Let me just suggest.
He's talking about one too many cameras, talking about crimes he won't prosecute. Does he need to start getting tough on crimes in LA County?
If, I would just suggest if you would like to speak to the district attorney, you should contact him.
So the department ran a couple of task forces that were very, very successful between the years of 2021 and 2023. First and foremost, we had the follow-off, follow-home robbery task force that you all very well know, that has been well chronicled through the media. We had over 380 incidents where individuals were stalked, were followed, and ultimately robbed after leaving nightclubs, restaurants, and high-end shopping locations, whether they were robbed after leaving or followed home and basically accosted there. We assembled a task force with the DA, with the city attorney's office, with other departments, much like we're doing today. And it became very, very successful. We knocked that activity down, literally reduced it to zero. And within about 8-9 months, and then ultimately a year, we've had a lot of successful prosecutions. The task force configuration is very, very effective when we bring it together and we concentrate our efforts. And ultimately, we did the same thing during the same time period. If you recall, we had all of the cargo theft that were occurring from the harbor on the rails all the way out to East Los Angeles and then into the East County, into Indio. And ultimately, we assembled multiple departments, the CHP, we brought the railroads on board, their individuals, the prosecutors from the DA, the CA, and the Attorney General's office. We were able to reduce those losses, those incidents, and that activity almost to nothing. And today, we are having the same impact, and ultimately, we are having no issues with the cargo theft or hijacks that occur from the harbor all the way on the rails as it leaves and passes through the city of Los Angeles. Task forces are very, very effective. Yes, we have to reprioritize, we have to repurpose individuals, and we have to bring other entities together to do the same thing for a period of time. But we have seen over the last 2 years very, very effective task forces put together, ultimately getting rid of serious and critical crimes that impact cities, counties, and state. So, thank you.
So we're going to go to Blake and then Dakota, and just a reminder, if folks could say the outlet that they're with as well.
Yeah, Mayor Blake Trolley, KFI. Piggybacking off this question, it's not just the DA who's been at blame for some of this crime, it's also been state policies. In your short time now as mayor, are you starting to notice that maybe it's time the legislature step in and roll back some of these policies, notably Prop 47?
I think it's time for the legislators as well as local officials and federal officials to examine reforms that have been instituted to see what impact that they might be having. And absolutely, if adjustments need to be made, if changes need to be made, then I think that needs to happen. I just want to be very clear that when crimes like this take place, people have to be held accountable to the full extent of the law. And I don't believe that any of the crimes that we have talked about today would result in no bail. People need to be held accountable. They need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And Angelenos need to be made to feel safe. Thank you.
Dakota and then
Sure, Dakota Sims of the LA Times. I'm just curious, in terms of the theft units that the LAPD spoke about, have there been any budget cuts in terms of those units that deal with these types of task force and commercial theft under more, I guess, specifically budget cuts?
Well, we've had repurposing of personnel, but dealing with this specifically, we have a commercial crimes division that operates a major theft task force with the FBI and ultimately keeps that task force configuration. We have other entities within Detective Bureau, such as Robbery Homicide Division, such as we have 8 total that we bring together, and we will repurpose for whatever issue we are facing. So whatever the cuts, whatever the movement of personnel, we can always reassemble individuals into task force configurations, give them focuses, objectives, and goals, and ultimately work with our partners, as you see today on the outside, to strengthen that. So whether we have movements or we have reductions, we can still put together people, put together task force operations, and move forward towards the objective. And basically, as you've seen, the last two have occurred in the last 2 years where we've been declining in staff, but yet very, very effective in the objectives with the follow-off, follow-home task force, as well as the cargo hijack task force that went on the rails. We've had cuts in terms of personnel, movement of personnel from our bureau into to the areas, the geographic patrol areas, yes. But that doesn't stop us from moving individuals from within my bureau of about 1,000 people back into that.
I'd just like to add that our department is very, very nimble and flexible. We all know that we have a low number of sworn personnel right now, but in a moment's notice, literally within the same day, we can constitute another task force. We can move resources into commercial crimes division as we need to. We are very flexible and nimble, and we talk about crime every single day. We see emerging trends and we react to them, and I think we've been fairly successful. So.
This is a question for Mayor Bass or El Jefe Labrada. I'll ask it in English and then I'll repeat it in Spanish. I know we're talking about this flash mob robberies in high-end stores. But today, many of us were covering the robberies with taco stands. What is being done about them? Yo sé que en este momento estamos hablando sobre los robos a tiendas muy caras, pero los taqueros están muy preocupados. Solamente esta mañana cubrimos de 3 a 5 robos que ocurrieron en media hora.
So you'll have an appropriate answer.
Yes, that is an issue right now, an emerging crime trend that we have been assigning to Robbery Homicide Division. We have Robbery Special Section. It is a section of specially trained robbery investigators that have been working that particular issue as it has impacted the Valley, has impacted Central Bureau, East Los Angeles, and also the south portion of the city. They are working on all of those. They assume all of those cases as of late as the one early this morning. They are working, they have leads. I'm not going to talk about those leads, but I have a full contingent that is on that particular issue, and they are running all of those leads to ground, conducting extensive investigations into all of those robberies, and they will move together. It's a kind of a mini task force configuration.
Es importante que la comunidad sepa que hemos comprometido investigadores para este esfuerzo. Es problemático para nosotros, los que está ocurriendo para los vendedores ambulantes. Lo que vimos en el sur de Los Ángeles es problemático. Tenemos oficiales detectives dedicados de Robbery Homicide Division que están investigando el caso. El mensaje para la comunidad es que se aseguren reportar esos delitos. El temor que existe en los residentes de que si llaman a la policía vamos a llamar a la migración no es el caso. Necesitamos saber que son víctimas y quiénes son los individuos que están asaltando a nuestros residentes para que los busquemos y los traigamos a juicio. Y más importante, que trabajen con nosotros. Hemos trabajado mucho con los residentes y más importante con las organizaciones de ambulantes en la ciudad de Los Ángeles para asegurar que damos información acerca de seguridad para los vendedores, pero más importante que se protejan y estén responsables en los locales donde se pongan a vender, en locales que hagan luz, en locales que estén seguros, pero más importante, reporten los delitos y queremos que llamen si tienen información acerca de sus delincuentes. Gracias.
Go Lila, Joshua, and then we're going to have to wrap.
Hi, Lila, media group. There are some groups that are calling for defunding the police, and you want to increase patrol or surveillance. How do you do this without overreaching? And then secondly, can you tell us a little bit more about the background of some of these suspects or folks that have been arrested? Like, where are they coming from? We know this is happening all over the region, but can you give us a little more?
Well, I can comment on the efforts to increase our police force. We need to increase our police force so we can still answer our emergency 911 calls within 7 minutes. We're right on that edge, and that's our basic core service. So we have to hire more officers. We're making a little bit of progress in there. We have another academy class that's going to start in August, and we have 44 people at this point starting. It may increase at that time. So there's a lot of marketing efforts, there's a lot of outreach efforts, a lot of events happening to increase the number of officers. But it's absolutely necessary for public safety, and we're not over occupying or over policing. Our policing strategy has changed over the years. The days of sending 50 cops into a neighborhood to police it to create safety is over. We're working hand in hand with these communities so they can have input in developing what they define as safety in their neighborhoods, and that's why we need the cops, to work with the communities as partners and not as an occupying force. As far as your second part of the question, I don't know.
Well, you say the response time is 7 minutes, but these crimes are happening in 3 minutes?
Our average, our statutory response time needs to be 7 minutes. We respond to hundreds of calls daily and way less than that.
Well, you're speak to that. You guys responded much quicker.
So a little different dynamic for us in the city of Glendale. Fortunate to have an emergency response time of around 3 minutes. Even still, you can see how that's challenging when these things are happening in around the same amount of time. Hence the reason I think you've heard all the folks up here, including the mayor, speak about the importance of the partnership with the community, picking up the phone, see something, say something sort of approach. In regards to our suspects that are in custody, just generally, I will say that I think a lot of the individuals that we are looking at, while this is an ongoing investigation, are from all over the region. Obviously, Los Angeles is a big footprint here, the city of, but really expanding throughout our entire county. The two individuals that we were speaking about today, one that's arrested, the other one with the arrest warrant, are from the city of Los Angeles. But again, we are seeing suspects from across this region take on a coordinated effort to fulfill these crimes and to go into all the different communities across this region and victimize our retailers and our community in doing this. So again, our suspects, we're seeing them from across the region. It's a coordinated effort, and they're impacting every one of our communities across this region.
And I'm sorry, I forgot someone. We're going to Ted, and then we're going to John, or Josh. I'm sorry, Ted.
Thank you. Mayor Bass, Ted Shannon, NBC4. Zeroing in on Prop 47, which raised the threshold for some of these crimes to be prosecuted as felonies. Do you believe this has reduced accountability and emboldened these criminals, and thereby reducing the potential effectiveness of this task force by enabling repeat offenders?
You know, I definitely think that Proposition 47 and any other reform should be looked at to see the impact. I don't believe that any of these crimes would relate to Proposition 47 since there was nothing that was stolen that was of that small amount. I mean, these were crimes that stole 100,000, 200, 300,000. Those people should not be subject to no bail policy. They should not be subject to any of the reforms that we are referring to. Thank you. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it's viewed that way or not. I don't know if it's prosecuted like that.
Last question to Joshua.
This is Josh King from the LA Daily News. I just was hoping someone could put this string of robberies in context of what's happening on the streets of Los Angeles. Just going by LAPD's most recent data, robberies are down almost 15% year to date over last year. Is this an aberration, or is this a new type of crime that's happening? Like, what is actually happening in terms of why is this happening now? Does this have anything to do with robberies being down across the city? They're finding new opportunities? What is actually happening?
And I would ask one of my law enforcement partners, but I would just say that the whole point of the task force is to make sure that this is an aberration.
I absolutely agree with the mayor. It is an aberration. It's something that we see pop up, much like the follow-off, follow-home robbery that, we haven't seen to that extent. Street robberies and overall robberies are down. However, this is one of those glitches and one of these trends that pop up that need to be quickly addressed.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.